Could the Arizona Cardinals trade franchise quarterback Kyler Murray this offseason, Johnny Venerable?
Plus, what's the team's psyche ahead of the finale at San Francisco? Are they going to sit players, Brack? That more coming up. PHNX Cardinals starts now. Hello, welcome in live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is Brack in Studio K. We got producer Damon Dawg here on a football loser Monday. Cardinals take an L Saturday night. It feels like a hot minute since we talked to everybody. Big ups to everybody in the chat, all of our diehards that came out to our last watch party at Gila River. We're going to jump into everything, including Kyler Murray's trade market. But first, I want to remind everybody, the presenting sponsor on today's show, our friends at Bet365. Download the app today. Use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer. Find out why, whatever the moment. Never ordinary with Bet365. So much football going on. I hope people are making money with our friends at Bet365. Our boosted bet over the weekend. Cardinals didn't get it done, but we sure did. 3 for 3 with Sweet Baby Dames parlayed. Brack, how are you living on this Monday?
Living well. One final round for the Arizona Cardinals this weekend. It's solidified 2:25 on Sunday afternoon. Cardinals hit the gridiron for the last time against Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. Big hello to our friends. Schaff, O for sure, Gage, AZ Jace, Girth Jr., Jess, Claymore Jones, G Jeter, K2, Jack Smith, the squad. Everybody's here. Give yourself a like right now if you're in the chat. If you're just watching, not in the chat, just the quiet, just viewers out there, give yourself a like as well. It's what the hell's going on? We've had far too many of these loser Mondays. I hate a loser Monday. I'm so tired of loser Mondays.
Yeah, we were spoiled at 6-4, and now we're back in the slumming it with the Cardinals and their losing ways. Want to thank everybody again. Jess in the chat. We got our guy Shaft, Jim from out of town. Ton of people came out. Am I forgetting anybody, Bo? To Gila on Saturday night. We had a great time. I mean, it was a good game. Cardinals, though, still taking an L in the process. And we got to perform some kind of witchcraft on Gila in the offseason to get some good vibes going. I guess it's just like Cardinals.
Take some stage over there.
Yeah.
Like, sir, what are you doing? There's no smoking in here. It's like, oh, no, I'm warding off the spirits.
Well, I mean, Cardinals are just not a good road team. I think we can say that, right? Like we saw in person one of their 2 wins. They haven't won a road game since Miami. That was in October. Not good. A lot of not good. Before we get into this report or faux port, rumors pertaining to Kyler Murray. You know, you've had about 48 hours to sit on the result, Bo, from Saturday night. Anything change with your perception of that game as you've had an opportunity to digest more than just what we saw at Gila?
Still in disbelief, right? Yeah. It was one of those games, especially how it ended. 40-plus seconds, you're first and goal on the 5, and you got Kyler Murray targeting his top playmaker, who finally cracked the end zone earlier in the game for the first time all season. And they run what, according to Kyler Murray and Trey McBride, a concept that they're like a 99%, lock to get it done.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, like, because we didn't have the show yesterday, I'm just firing takes off at my poor wife and my 3-year-old son about, what the hell happened and trying to pick up the pieces. It's just, I think if you were to look at the game, like overall as the evaluation, like especially from the quarterback position, I think you would have said Kyler Murray had a good game. But then when you look down at the final drives and the inability to cash in, that's where you're just like, what went wrong? Looking at, the Cardinals, they had 4 drives in the second half. Their opening series in the second half, they score a touchdown, Trey McBride into the end zone for the first time. Then they get the field goal, and then they get the opportunities that goes pick, and Cardinals go home losers and are 7-9 on this season.
Yeah, it just, to me, I feel like a lot of people nationally were complimentary of the game Kyler Murray played. And so were we. But if you watch our post-game show, we were still very much, as you mentioned, in disbelief of what took place. And just the disappointment that, with the ball in his hands, yet again, Kyler Murray couldn't get the go-ahead touchdown. And I think, I don't want to diminish all the good. He outplayed Matthew Stafford in that game. Stafford was not good, but Stafford's defense made plays. Cardinals couldn't secure how many picks would be picks against Matthew Stafford. We'll talk about that later in the show during trending up, trending down. But I feel like Kyler Murray is who he is this year. He had a great first half. He's had a below average second half. His numbers reflect that. And what was so disappointing about Saturday is we finally saw a glimpse of that vertical passing game we've been waiting for all year. I mean, he threw for a season high 340 through the air. That fourth quarter, he was letting it rip to Zay Jones, and Marvin had a great game, and it only materialized into 9 points. And then you watch some of these other teams, Jaden Daniels, even Michael Penix, like these other teams are scoring 25 to 30 points per game during the stretch run here. And the Cardinals are just touchdown deficient right now, especially through the year. I mean, their passing numbers this year, I complain about the pass rush. The passing numbers this year are the biggest indictment of the team, passing numbers. So we're going to have an opportunity to break all that down. We're going to hear from Drew Petzing later this week for the final time during the season. Yeah. But to me, it's very deflating because I think if you sat here and told me that the Cardinals defense would be where they're at and that they'd have an opportunity to play a bad Niner team in the last game of this regular season and then it meant nothing, theoretically, be really disappointed with how the team finished, and that's where we're all at.
Who thought that Stafford could only complete passes to Puka?
Yeah.
Because that's what the Cardinals defense, put on display all game long. Very pedestrian, a below average performance from Matthew Stafford. He looked his age on Saturday, but they found a way. Unfortunate for Cardinals fans out there. And I see people like in the chat talking about the final play, obviously the fluky pick that Drew Petzing should have run the football. The play was there to be made. It was the right play call. It sucks. Like, I think what people are mad about is you didn't get another opportunity because the ball deflects off Trey McBride's face mask and falls into the arms of a Witherspoon to seal the deal. But I don't have a problem with the play call there. I really don't. And then there's people who want to look at the tape and say, well, he should have thrown to Marvin Harrison Jr. on that play because he came open. It's like, no, Trey McBride was open. They just didn't execute. The play call was the right call. I'm not going to sit here and second guess Drew Petzing's play calling in that situation or Kyler Murray's decision making in that situation. It's the execution. It just, they didn't get the job done. We have Trey McBride here. You want to hear from Trey?
Yeah, let's do it.
He'll give some insight as far as kind of what went wrong. This is via our friends over at 12 News. The Trey McBride.
It's the exact look we're looking for. I just, tried to make a play. Ball was on me quick. Just unfortunate events. It was exactly the look we were looking for, exactly what we needed. And sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce your way. And it seemed like that was the case today. It was just it's a play we've repped a million times. It's a play I've caught a million times. And that's what's frustrating. It's my fault. I got to get open faster for Kyler. He threw a great ball, obviously, hit me right in the face, and I just got to make the play.
It's tough when a moment like that maybe weighs on you and overshadows your first touchdown of the season.
Hit me in the face.
That play hit us all in the face, figuratively, not literally. But, disbelief. There was no way the Cardinals weren't scoring there before that happened. Like, I'm with you. The right play call because he was your most dependable player, not only in this game, all season long. You don't have James Conner in the red zone. Like, Kyler Murray, to me, if he's going to throw to anybody, who's more sure-handed than him, with all due respect to Marvin Harrison Jr.? Like, that, had they ran the ball to Michael Carter there and Michael Carter fumbles, people have been like, why are you taking the ball out of Kyler Murray's hands? Like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Ironically, and we put this out there, I tweeted this out there, Drew Petzing right now is safe as OC in 2025. outside of the egregious fourth down play and maybe the end around, that was probably one of the better games he's called this year. And I think like execution wise in the red zone, they're still really bad.
Still hard.
They had 400 yards of offense in that game. So like I've seen Drew Petzing call worse games than that. I think a lot of us are just like, what's taken so long? We got statistics on Marv later. It's like leading the NFL in crossing routes. Hey, Drew, maybe run some more of those. He's pretty flipping good at those. So it was just wasted potential. It's not ineptitude like when I watched the Bears or the Jets or the Cowboys yesterday. It's like, oh, wait, we were better in literally every statistical category. We outplayed them. You make an argument we've got better players, and you couldn't get over the finish line. And it's still that mental block that comes, Bo, with this team, winning when it matters. Like championship quarterbacks, championship organizations, they can screw around in September and October like the Rams do every year, 1-4 and 2-4 last year. And then it's like, hey, time for real football to start. Oh, okay, we'll get serious now, and we're going to win 5 of our next 6 games, including against Buffalo. Cardinals are the opposite of that. And if I'm Jonathan Gannon, I'm Monty Austin-Ford, everything this offseason, whether it's keeping Kyler or getting another quarterback, whatever you do, fortifying the defense, is about preventing another collapse, being bust-proof when it matters most in November and December. Whatever that looks like, I would spend the entire month of January into February figuring out with my coaches, my executives, why did this happen? Why does it happen continually with this franchise? And how do we prevent it? And does that include trading Kyler Murray? We'll talk about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that there's a difference between the mistakes that have been made and making mistakes in the NFL. Matthew Stafford should have thrown 2-3 picks in that game, right? And he's sitting there surviving, but finding a way to make a play when they needed a play, right? I mean, he didn't play well. He hasn't played well consistently all season long. But here the Rams and they clinched the NFC West, right? Yeah. And they're jockeying for playoff position now in the final game against the Seahawks. And you look at some of these quarterbacks and you're not wowed by their statistics. You're not wowed just turning on the TV every Sunday, but they're finding ways. And like Kyler Murray before the bye was taking care of the ball. Wasn't it turn it over and the team was a disciplined, football team. But then, Kyler Murray starts to make catastrophic mistakes and we're not going to point to Saturday and say, there's your smoking gun. That's the final nail in the coffin of Kyler Murray. It's the complete picture here post bye when you've seen, the mistakes kind of compound on top of each other. And it's like, okay, there was another opportunity, 2 opportunities, in fact, where the Cardinals came up empty and they just crapped away a golden opportunity to play spoiler to the Rams, who should be fighting for their playoff lives in Week 18 instead of, trying to figure out if they can get the 3 seed instead of the 4 seed.
Yeah, you allowed the Rams and the Seahawks to remain viable in the second half when that was yours to be taken. And I think that hurts the most. Just like those teams, you both had the same mindset, yet you were out executed 3 out of 3 games. And that's the smoking gun. The smoking gun is inefficient offense, penalties, defense with lack of turnovers and pass rush, and a quarterback that has regressed since we last checked with him at the bye. Is that quarterback poised to be traded this offseason? Well, one pundit feels like you could get a first-round pick for Kyler Murray and that he has heard that he could be on the move. We're going to get to that right around the corner here on PHNX Cardinals. But before we do, I hope everybody had a happy, safe, and welcoming holiday with family and friends. And I hope everybody took advantage of some free bonus bets via our friends at Bet365. Again, we boosted that parlay on Saturday night, 3 for 3. Big ups to Damon, Dawg. And again, if you're wanting to dabble with Bet365, if you're a new customer, you held out this long, well, congrats. $5 is going to get you $150 in bonus bets for the bonus code PHNX365. We got bowl season taking place right now. And of course, the coup de grace, the college football playoff quarterfinal, taking place later this week. Of course, we've got the Fiesta Bowl in our backyard, or the Peach Bowl featuring ASU in Texas. Bet on that and more. Plus, the last regular season in the NFL matchup on Sunday, which is rather sad, especially for the Cardinals. But betting scene keeps going with our friends at Bet365. Download the app today. Use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Again, 5 is going to get you $150 in bonus bets. You got to be 21 years and older, physically located here in AZ. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov, Bo, for more info.
I got to tell you guys about our great vehicle partner. How about Sanderson Ford over here at PHNX? Love them. Sanderson Ford, so thankful to have lived and prospered in the West Valley, Glendale, for over 70 years. And we're thankful for their 500 employees who take care of their customers, woven within the fabric of our great state, making Sanderson Ford America's most awarded Ford dealership. And go check out their 65 glorious acres out there in the West Valley. Another highly successful Operation Santa Claus that does a great job giving back to our great community. And Sanderson Ford has been family owned and operated for those 3 generations and thrive on that no hassle, no pressure, no nonsense sales approach. Check out maybe their 2024 Ford F-150 trucks at 3.9% APR financing for 66 months, plus $4,000 cash back. Similar savings on the 900 new and pre-owned vehicles on their lot. You know, if you're looking for a commercial vehicle, you're looking for maybe a Bronco Sport. They've got so many great looking cars over there. Ford Escape. They've got everything that you could find or want for your next vehicle over at Sanderson Ford. Check them out right now. Sanders Ford, go say hi to my guy Ron in the sales department. He's going to show you some great cars, some great vehicles, and then you can make a decision whether or not it's going to be good for you and your family. Check them out, Sanderson Ford. Of course, we love our friends over at Sanderson Ford. It's the dealership that is service built.
Big thanks to everybody. We got 500 watching live on gophnx.com alone. Hit that like button. And again, we tease it at the top of the show. Let's jump into it. This is via Colin Cowherd, who, of course, hosts his daily show on Fox Sports. Plus, he's got The Volume, his own company that he streams here on YouTube. This was in a podcast Sunday night with John Middlecoff, talking about the fallout from the Rams-Cardinals game, saying and speculating Kyler Murray has a market if you go to the right team. I think Arizona is going to have a discussion to see if they can move him. I really do. And then later suggesting that maybe not last year, maybe not in 2026, but he believes in this draft, Kyler Murray could get the Arizona Cardinals in return a number 1 pick. Now, it's important that, we've speculated, or we know this definitively, Bo, that a lot of Colin Cowherd sources connected to the old regime. We know he's buddies with Steve Keim. He's got a relationship with Cliff Kingsbury, and that's where he gets a lot of his Kyler rhetoric and narrative. And you guys get your sources where you get them. But, you watch the clip, the context. We're not going to play the clip on our show here, but your first reaction to this before we potentially debunk why it wouldn't be in the Cardinals' best interest, at least not right now.
No, I mean, that's part of my reaction. It's like, okay, like a first round pick, that's all nice, right? That you can make some real headway as far as continuing to build this team and be that draft and develop team.
Yeah.
But we know that you can be a rudderless ship without consistent play at the quarterback position. And you can look at Kyler Murray's performance post-bye and, you can pick it apart and say he didn't get it done when it mattered the most. But he has steadied the ship a bit for the Arizona Cardinals ever since he returned from his knee injury.
Right.
And the only way that the Arizona Cardinals could ever consider this is if they had a pivot point somewhere that pointed to another quarterback. Like, they have to have a plan in place. You can't say, oh, well, we'll just take the picks and then we'll move on and we'll figure it out through free agency or the trade market or through the draft. Because I don't think that those avenues truly exist. Like, somebody that's going to be able to take, an improved roster, like we've seen it over the 2 off seasons under Monty Ossenfort, that they've done a good job in investing in some premium positions and rebuilding this thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, if you don't have somebody that can consistently play the quarterback position, it's all meaningless.
Yeah, I think it's in vogue right now to say we can get like a Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold every offseason. I don't think that's the case. And good hell, we looked at the free agent quarterbacks momentarily on Saturday's post-game show, and it was a nightmare straight from football hell. So I would encourage everybody, don't do that unless you want a class led by the one-legged Kirk Cousins. But additionally, I think that the teams that opt to do this are in a position to pick high enough in the draft where there is assurance that they have an heir apparent immediately. The Cardinals, and we'll talk about this later, right now are picked 4th and 14th in the draft in a bad
Yeah.
quarterback class. Like, you're not getting Shedeur Sanders if the Cardinals even liked him, or Cam Ward, or anybody like that. So theoretically, you would be trading Kyler Murray. Great. Let's say you got right now pick 9th from the Las Vegas Raiders, right? Well, even with pick 9 and pick 14, probably not getting one of the top quarterbacks. So, like, sure, you can refortify your roster, but I mean, what happens if the free agent quarterback you sign, and we saw this team not be great with free agent quarterbacks. Desmond Ridder, bust, right? They doubled down on Colt McCoy 2 years ago. That was a disaster. They had to trade for Joshua Dobbs. Like, I love Monty Ossenford. His resume with free agent quarterbacks has been bad, hasn't been very good. So, like, I do believe Ossenford and Gannon should be able to pick their quarterback at some point. But that's a prolonged vetting process. Now, if there's a kid that you like, you connect at the Senior Bowl, you connect at the Combine, and you have an opportunity to draft him while Kyler Murray's on the roster, and you want to develop that player for a year, and you want to take him in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, whatever, go ahead and do that. You've earned that right.
Yeah.
But to say, like, let's just sell off, it's like selling your house when interest rates were sub 3, and nobody could afford homes, or nobody could get homes. Yeah, you could sell your house for a big time profit. What are you turning around buying, right? What's available for you to get? You're going to live in your car like that? Respectfully, for the people who do that, no shame. But you get what I'm saying. Like, the Cardinals, there's not an avenue behind door number 2 where you can keep the development going with some of these younger players. Like, I'm critical of Drew Petzing and Kyler Murray for how this has gone this year with Marvin Harrison Jr. You bring in Scrub McGrub, free agent, to work with Marv and Trey and Michael Wilson, and suddenly their numbers plateau. Go look at Garrett Wilson with the Jets, basically saying, like, if Aaron Rodgers is back, I'm not playing here. I want out.
Yeah.
Like, at least you know you've got somebody to steer the ship. So, theoretically, to a lot of people, I'm sure that sounds good to them. But remember the alternative, folks. It is brutal out there on those QB streets.
No, I mean, it's it's brown dead grass. It's not green grass on the other side. It's I think the analogy's spot on as far as, you know, you could sell your house at a decent price, if not a high, you know, a very rewarding price. But yeah, what's it going to get you into, right? And you know, I think you know, Ossenfort used a similar kind of thing, like if when trading down in the draft.
Yeah.
But like, you look at this market, and we went through it, and I'm going to do it again because Sam Darnold's not going anywhere.
No,
like, Sam Darnold's a Minnesota Viking. He threw for 35 touchdown passes, and they've got a question mark as far as JJ McCarthy. It doesn't benefit the Vikings unless they're blown away with a deal to trade off JJ McCarthy.
He's getting like nothing. Champagne showers in the locker room.
Yeah,
Did you see that?
He costs nothing. Everything's coming up Sam Darnold, which is a bizarro world in itself.
Good.
But like, outside of that, it's like you're looking at the Russell Wilsons in the Justin Fields of the world. People keep saying Jameis Winston. Like, please stop. Please. It needs to stop. Jameis Winston got benched for DTR, who sucks at football. He's got 1 touchdown and 10 interceptions. The quarterback market, especially with so many quarterback hungry teams, it's like you're going to be shoulder to shoulder trying to work, and you're going to have to give up probably way more just to get somebody in the building. Like, they do need to raise the talent floor in the quarterback room. Okay. Like, they're devoid of any talent in that room outside of Kyler Murray. Right. And you need to ratchet up the pressure on your franchise quarterback to feel a little heat based on his performance here down the stretch. But as far as alternatives, you'd have to get real creative or find something that would have to like fall apart for a current, you know, quarterback situation in the league that would be unforeseen to even like think about pivoting at this point.
Okay, this comment here, Jay saying, Johnny, you said, look at it, all the quarterbacks rated ahead of Kyler Murray. So, like, Kyler Murray's among, you know, bottom 3rd in the NFL in passing touchdowns. Well, sure, Jay, but, like, the quarterbacks ahead of him, they're not available. They're not, like, coming to Arizona. So you're going to have to pick from that pool that's hanging around with Kyler Murray or likely below him. So, again, like, if Baker Mayfield was available, sure, I guess. But, like, think about that reality for a second. Baker Mayfield's breaking franchise record for touchdowns. Same with Sam Darnold having a career year. Like, folks, like, that's the kind of year we expect out of Kyler Murray. And it just hasn't materialized. But at the same point, it's like, we can't let an overreaction now go kind of combat common sense here. Let's pull up Kyler Murray's numbers this year.
Okay.
These are Kyler Murray's numbers on the year. Let's see it, Damon, Dawg. He's going to throw for probably a career high. If he throws for over 300 yards this Sunday, which is a possibility, he'll have a career high in passing yards. The biggest indictment of Kyler Murray is that middle section there, that second column. Not necessarily the picks, although post-bye, they haven't been good, right? His passing touchdowns are egregiously low. And I'm sure he's going to attempt to fix that this offseason. He and Drew Petzing need to sit in a room, 8x10 room, with a whiteboard and figure this out. It's not good enough. Right. 17 passing touchdowns is the reason above all else the Cardinals are out of the playoffs today. You cannot convince me otherwise. But then look, 550 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, quarterback rating of 91, which used to be, close to 100, but then the interceptions came and the touchdowns dropped. And then, of course, QBR, he's 11th at 67. So, I mean, depending on how you want to spin it, that looks like about the 14th to 17th best starting quarterback in the NFL, which is typically what the Cardinals have in terms of their record. 8, 7 wins, somewhere in quarterback purgatory. So if you're Drew Petzing and Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenford, you have to have faith that you can build off those numbers next year. 5 to 7 more passing touchdowns probably gets you 2 to 4 more wins, which gets you into the playoffs, right? Now, the concern, though, is, and what those numbers don't emphasize specifically is, why is Kyler Murray amongst the NFL worst quarterbacks at the end of the year? Why does that keep happening? From 2020, 2021, and now this year, and took out the ACL year and the recovery year, Bo. If that's a thing next year, then we have our answer long term. Right. But right now, it's like you're not getting those numbers probably from anybody else who's available this offseason.
Right. I mean, it's like I said, you got to raise the talent floor in the room, put the pressure on. I was talking to Zach Berman from PHLY Eagles, and they throw out anybody at the quarterback position, even though Kenny Pickett is holding on to the football through his release and falling to the ground like a clown, a mime doing some sort of performance.
Yeah.
But then he's not turned the football over. He's got a touchdown pass. Tanner McKee. Remember our sweet little mock draft machine, Tanner McKee, darling?
I saw him. He had a nice touchdown pass.
He threw 2 touchdown passes yesterday on like 4 attempts. I mean, that Tanner McKee came in. It was more productive than Kyler Murray, I think, over the last 2 games throwing the football to the end zone.
It's just bad. It's not good enough.
It is. But like you look at Philly, and they're always in the market to upgrade their quarterback position, and you need to do that. And even back like when Howie Roseman was criticized for taking Jalen Hurts in the second round, it's like, hey, you got Carson Wentz. You invested in Carson Wentz. It's like, well, we're a quarterback factory, and we're going to benefit from it regardless if the guy plays serious downs for us, or if it becomes like a Jimmy G situation, or as it did in Jalen Hurts situation where he becomes the successor. It's just, you have to start investing in that position. And I know there was a lot of work that had to be done, and there wasn't a lot of talent beyond, the top quarterbacks in the draft, the last couple of years. But you have to start to bring in guys, develop them. Like, you can keep Clayton Tune around and you can let him try to progress and develop, but you got to bring in people that are better quarterbacks this offseason to really kind of put the pressure on it, or even give you a better, fallback plan if Kyler Murray isn't available or isn't producing.
Well, they tried to make Clayton Tune expendable. Desmond Ridder was unplayable. He was he was the worst quarterback by a mile. And kudos to Clayton Tune. He was QB2 this year. I'm not taking that away from him. Here's, I think, the toughest part to come to grips with is that we know the Cardinals attempted to trade for multiple big-ticket edge rushers at the trade deadline. There were numerous high-end picks that were involved in those discussions. And myself, we've had discussions about, well, that will carry over into the offseason. And it could still very well be the case. But I think Kyler Murray's play has just been so alarming that while you don't trade him unless you have an avenue to pivot, which they do not right now, I don't think you can say we're a Micah Parsons, a Max Crosby, a Myles Garrett away with Kyler Murray from getting to where we want to be. I think the logical avenue, and this is not the sexy way of going about it, this is very much like the anti-kind, which I know a lot of people will applaud, but Cardinal fans are ready to spend money this offseason. I think they will do that. But I also believe that they need to continue to double down and triple down on what has worked the last 2 years. You have to keep your resources, man. Kyler Murray, and I've said this for the last month, while the regression has happened, he should be the quarterback moving forward, but you cannot go all in for 2025 with him in terms of like a 2021 ascension with AJ Green, Rodney Hudson, and I'm sure Ossenford will get better players. That's a poor example, but you know what I'm getting at. It's like, well, we can firmly check the box at quarterback. I think Kyler Murray can play better, but Myles Garrett, as great as he is, I mean, he's not throwing touchdowns for you, right?
Yeah.
It's not sustainable winning games 10-7, right?
Yeah.
Kyler Murray, unfortunately, right now has removed the benefit of the doubt that you're going to get high-end quarterback play in 2025, especially late in the year. The best interest is just to keep developing this team organically.
Yeah.
Now, you need to spend more money in free agency by default. Last year and the year before were egregious examples by Ossenford, but I know that a lot of people, and I love, our guy Kyle Odegaard keeps pointing this out, that year 3 is the pop year. I think year 3 is just a continuation based on how Kyler Murray, unfortunately, has fallen off. Keep building. Get this roster ready. If Kyler Murray takes the baton, awesome. But if he doesn't, have an avenue to pivot where maybe a rookie quarterback, Bo, could take this team if it's flipping loaded and make the playoffs, God forbid.
Yeah, if you keep building, right, you're going to put together one of those rosters that so many people are going to say, hey, if Kyler Murray just continues the status quo as far as his production, that you're like, hey, they're just a quarterback away, somebody that's going to be able to drive the ball downfield consistently enough to get the explosives to complement what they're probably going to continue to trend in the direction defensively. But yeah, I mean, look, Lamar Jackson won the MVP last year. He had pretty pedestrian passing numbers, right? 3,600 yards passing, 24 touchdowns. That's not Kyler Murray's season even right now, right? And he obviously has the rushing ability. But what him and Todd Monken were able to do from first year under Monken last year to now is take that thing to, a couple gears higher. And you got to hope that if it is the pop year that you get some sort of semblance to that. But, I think also that the days of just having Kyler Murray being the only capable quarterback and the only experienced quarterback, the most experienced quarterback in the QB room, they should be done. Like, I think this is not the reason for the struggles, and this is not a cure-all, but there is something to be said for when Kyler Murray makes a mistake out there and he's looking at, the breakdown of what he didn't see out there on the field, and then he turns and he's got second-year player Clayton Tune with one game under his belt where he's the sacrificial lamb against the Browns and really no experience before that. As much as we like Israel Wolfork as quarterback coach, he didn't have any experience out there on the playing field at the NFL level, and Drew Petzing doesn't either. Like, you need somebody to go and kind of be your peer out there and help you kind of talk through what went wrong. Yeah. I mean, they got to, I think they absolutely have to really change their approach as far as the quarterback position. Your QB1 is not probably going to be found this offseason. You stay with Kyler Murray and hope that he gets back on track, but you start to kind of retool that room with draft and with some of the free agency dollars that you have. I think you bring in a vet, and I think you even take a flyer and somebody in the draft.
Yeah, the Cardinals need to flush that room out, sans Kyler Murray. And we like Clayton Tune as a person, but like, he's just not a serious enough option, Bo, in our opinion, to get this team in a position where, like, I know a lot of people are pushing like Clayton Tune should be starting this weekend. Well, he's not going to start this weekend. And he didn't start last weekend in a quote unquote meaningless game because he's not a realistic option to replace Kyler Murray. They see Clayton Tune every day in practice, guys. Like, they know what they have and what they don't have. And it's a guy that they develop, and he's a great teammate. But I mean, like, could they take a flyer on like a Malik Willis this offseason? I know Jalen Milroe is a popular name that this guy, I'm sure, going to flush draft boards, especially he plays well in his bowl game and does well at the combine. We'll see.
Passing touchdowns.
I know. I'm just, throwing names out there that you would assume would fit.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, sniff around those markets, right? Like, Spencer Rattler looked pretty good at times for the New Orleans this year. All right, a couple games he threw some nice.
Stop.
People throwing out Jackson Dart. Listen, there are only, it's like that quote from
Jackson's like the only guy that I've looked at in this draft process. I'm like, hey, I would take a day 3 flyer on him. Like, he's not the guy that you're going to say, hey, he's going to come in here and he's going to contend to start right away.
Right.
But like you take him and like, hey, can we develop him in this either a high-end backup, or can he be a guy that could be a fringe starter? But yeah, I mean, that's
it's
not
like,
gonna.
It's like the movie Argo. We quote this all the time. There are only bad ideas. It's finding the best bad idea and seeing maybe what can come to fruition here. There
were meetings last year with Kevin O'Connell and GMs in Vikings leadership, and they're like, you know what? We like Darnold. You know, if we had to roll with Darnold, and people are like, what? Including this podcast was like, no, there's no way. Oh, JJ McCarthy's out for the season. They're done in Minnesota. And what is JJ McCarthy, or what has Sam Darnold done? But you know, that's the exception to the rule for sure. But no, you're right. There has to be the conversations are going to be had. Like Colin Cowherd, if anything, I think you could take from his conversation with John Middlecoff is like, I think they're going to have some conversations about the quarterback position that they hadn't had before, because there was a sense of conviction for Kyler Murray from both Monty Austinfort and Jonathan Gannon that has been rattled a bit down the stretch by Kyler Murray's play post-bye.
It's 100% correct. And I want to just address something here, because Robert, I'm not calling you out, man, because I've seen this a lot since we posted today's show in the comments on Twitter, that this is clickbait, right? So I'm going to walk everybody through what's taking place with the Cardinals right now. Jonathan Gannon is going to keep Drew Petzing as his offensive coordinator after this weekend. They're not going to fire Drew Petzing. He has belief in Drew Petzing, right? And it's his guy. Let him roll with Drew Petzing. And he's got the support of Monty Osford and Michael Bidwell. They want to keep his guys in-house to complete their vision, right? While Kyler Murray and Jonathan Gannon are very close, Kyler Murray, and everybody who's anti-K1 has been quick to point this out since last year, was not signed by Monty Osford. He was not signed and developed by Drew Petzing and Kyler Murray. Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing and Monty Osford are working together to get the most out of Kyler Murray. But if they come to a point, friends, where they feel like we've maxed this out and we're going to play this year to year, Michael Bidwell is in support of that. Michael Bidwell, we all know, was reluctant to sign that contract, right or wrong, to begin with. So talking about like clickbait, if you want to call it clickbait as it relates to like, well, who else are they getting? We just had that conversation for 20 minutes. But for a second, thinking about, oh, well, Osford and Gannon are tied to Kyler Murray long-term. Come on. Like, they were fortunate, was Michael Bidwell, to get people interested in this job 2 years ago. And I think he hit a very solid double to triple with Osford and Gannon. Hopefully it's a home run one day. But like, there's a life where Osford and Gannon are employed by the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray is not here, right? And I think it should show everybody in the chat, watching at home, whatever. If Jonathan Gannon is committed to Drew Petzing and feels great about Drew Petzing, and the Cardinals, the efficiency fell off a cliff the second half of this year, they're going to put ownership on Kyler Murray to get better. And guess who's going to be the first to go if it doesn't work in 2025? We've been talking about it. So it is not clickbait. It's the reality of the Cardinals going 1-5, and if they lose this weekend, Bo, 1-6 down the stretch with the offense as the primary culprit for the collapse.
I completely agree with that. And, you know, as far as, you know, Gannon himself, you know, he just from his press conferences, and you can only take that with a grain of salt, right? But, you know, especially today coming from the facility and piggybacking some of the stuff that I rewatched post game on Saturday night, is that there is a confidence that that things are close. Like Gannon said today, like, despite the losing, there's learning, there's development on both the coaching side of things and the player side of things. So, you know, you can take that good or bad, but that's the belief inside the facility and the organization. And, you know, I don't know if it would ever get to the point where confidence truly it runs out for Jonathan Gannon. Now, I think he can be not persuaded, but he can have conversations with Monty Osford going forward. Monty Osford identifies, hey, like, I think that this guy could be an upgrade at the quarterback position. And I think that they would have that combo, but you know, it just doesn't seem like it's going to present itself. Look, there's so many things in this league that people believe are certainties. They're never going to change. And on a dime, they change.
Yeah.
Like so many things we thought to be true in this league. Sam Darnold's washed, or Aaron Rodgers is going to be a success no matter who's playing with or with this league. He stinks. He's got a quarter QBR under 2 in a game yesterday. It's just like so many things that like Baker Mayfield can't play, and Baker Mayfield is lighting the world on fire. Like if there's a offense that the Cardinals need to study, it's what's going on in Tampa. Yeah. Like what they can do as far as running the football, and Baker Mayfield throwing and lighting up teams
big
for 5
receivers.
touchdown passes. Yeah. I mean, that's what they have to do. But like all these things, like when we talk about uncertainties, like you go 1-6 down the stretch, like there's no luxury of like certainties for jobs and who's going to be and what their role is with the organization.
AZJs, let's move into year 7 with Kyler with a third OC, laughing my ass off. I mean, like there's truth to that. Like, and again, like Drew Petzing has not had a good second half, but Drew Petzing is still somebody that Johnny, I'm not telling you that it's what I would do. I think that's getting misconceived as a show. Like the Cardinals are retaining Drew Petzing. It's going to be their OC next year. And Kyler Murray is likely going to be their starting quarterback. But I'm going to tell you right now, if they draft a quarterback high, if they sign a quarterback of note in free agency to be a competition, like who is that a bigger indictment of? Certainly not Drew Petzing. It's the guy who unfortunately has 17 passing touchdowns right now. And everybody, listen, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't on this show. Like we can only give it to you how we're hearing it and what we believe to be true. And for the longest time, well, you guys are too committed to Kyler Murray and blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. And they were 6-4 and we were lauding him for playing well. And they've been 1-5 and egregiously bad offensively post-bye. So it's time to be critical. Like the objectivity is what matters here. And regardless of what is said at an end of the year presser in about a week to 10 days, actions speak louder than words. And the minute Drew Petzing is retained, then you have to focus your attention on the guy throwing the ball, throwing the football for this team. And, you know, how many times have we seen screen captures and videos, people breaking it down like this person was open, this guy is available. Like, I'm not sitting in on film sessions with K1 and Drew Petzing. I don't know what Kyler Murray is hitting and not hitting. That's a question for people like Brian Baldinger, et cetera. But this is a very tenuous time because, Bo, as you mentioned on the postgame show, they win this weekend. Sure, they double the win total. The second half of this year, and we saw Jonathan Gannon at the Combine last year, and we thought Gannon and the team competed their ass off in 2023, given the talent level. He was not happy with 2023 and the fact they lost that many games. How do you think he's going to feel if this team at best was 2-5 down the stretch? And what do you think they're going to say about the inconsistencies of the offense?
Right. I mean, we heard from him today, and there was some conversation. He's really going to kind of examine this post-bye performance or collapse, however you want to describe it. And he's going to look at himself first, and he's going to work out, right? And he's going to start to look at it. And I think, like offensively, like if Drew's not going anywhere, and I'm with you, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. And Kyler, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. They're going to try to continue to strengthen, the offense around those guys. They're going to try to make, like, they're not going to have any wiggle room. Like, I don't know, like you got to look at the passing game. You got to look at the wide receivers. The tight ends have all, I think, performed pretty well. I mean, Trey McBride obviously raises that room quite a bit, but you like from a blocking standpoint, Elijah Higgins is making plays here and there. The offensive line continues to be a consistent group that even with not the most talented players outside of Paris Johnson Jr., it's going to be like it's going to be tweak city. Like they're going to be sitting there and looking to kind of tweak and upgrade any little department they can outside of maybe the wholesale parts, right? Like the key cog is your engine in Kyler Murray and your play caller and Drew Petzing.
You mentioned JG. Here's JG earlier today, Bo, with the rest of you and the Phoenix media on the difference between winning and losing the NFL and the fine line you walk.
Losing is not fun, but I do think that you can learn and grow from it and use it as a positive experience. Now, with saying that, the NFL is about winning and losing. When I say that, though, I feel like we're closer to being able to win more games than what we have done. And I know it's a bottom line business, and I understand that. I'm the first one to tell you that. But I think it's very evident and clear where we want to be, how we need to get there.
We got more on this team. A look at where they're picking gasp in the 2025 NFL draft, plus trending up, trending down. That's right around the corner. Well, let's take a look with our friends at the Fiesta Bowl. The Fiesta Bowl right around the corner. Viva Fiesta, friends. It's New Year's Eve. It's coming up. The biggest matchup of the college football season sans what's taking place in Georgia. It's the VRBO Fiesta Bowl. December 31st at 5:30 p.m., Boise State, powered by one of the nation's leading rushing attacks, takes on Penn State's vaunted defense. First ever college football playoff. Come early for New Year's Eve Fiesta that starts at 2:30 with the FanFest pregame party. It's a block party heading into the big game. Band performances, cheerleaders, fun, beverages, and more. Be there to witness history. Get your tickets now. Again, there are still tickets available. FiestaBowl.com /tickets. Again, that's fiestabowl.org/tickets, and Viva Fiesta here ahead of the college football quarterfinal.
Yeah, you've got the opportunity really to experience the college football playoff unlike anybody else. Like you could go to a game and then you can watch your team potentially play in the next day.
Yeah,
with ASU, but the Fiesta Bowl, you can still get into the doors there at State Farm Stadium. Also, got to tell you guys about our friends over at Colt Cannabis and True Leave. Every day we've got True Leave and Colt Cannabis leading the way as far as what's going on with their huge variety of premium flower. And True Leave is exclusive magic marker, which I heard is elite. The Valley's been asking for, and now she's back. Visit TrueLeave.com to find a local shop near you and place an order. Tell them that your friends over at PHNX Cardinals sent you. Want to get you the best flower from True Leave possible. Great flower is hard to find these days, and luckily at Colt Cannabis, they've been dropping absolute fire over at over here at PHNX Studios and your local True Leave, and that includes True Leave's exclusive magic marker strain. Also, be sure to check out the new True Leave location opening in Johnny's old stomping grounds of Maricopa. He's been thrown out of the town. They walked him to the border and said never come back until they open up this True Leave store, and they want him to come back January 11th. Get over to TrueLeave.com, find your local shop, and place your order. Tell them PHNX Cardinals sent you.
Big ups to everybody in the chat. We got over 720 people watching live. Hit that like button here on a football Monday.
This clickbaity show?
Yeah, it's clickbait fanboy show with the pom-poms. 2025 NFL Draft horror show. Let's get to it. Arizona Cardinals currently picking 14th after some unfortunate losses by both Dallas and Indy. Feels like the Cardinals are guaranteed to pick between 11 and 14. And again, all the way up to 18 are non-playoff contenders. 19 and 20 now with the inclusion of that added wild card are mixed in. San Francisco, let's just assume they lose tonight. They're 6 and 10. Cardinals, Niners next weekend. Cardinals lose that game. Niners win that game. They would leapfrog. But looking at this, here would it not leapfrog?
No, the Niners with the loss tonight would secure fourth place.
Oh, that's right. They would secure fourth place. You're right.
Yep.
You know what I look at this, Bo? We were slumming it last year as a podcast with 4 wins. There's a team in Chicago that's got 4 wins. They're picking 9th. What fresh hell our friends at CHGO must be experiencing. Imagine enduring a season like that, and you look up and you're only picking 9th. Awful.
You would have thought, like, what's the deal with all these double-digit loss teams and how bad, like, it's very top-heavy and very bottom-heavy in the league, but you look at and you think about these rosters and they're so bad. Like, these are not teams that are just, trying to mail it in and lose as many football games as possible. Like, their rosters are just atrocious. Like Tennessee, remember people thought the Titans might be able to win some games this year?
Oh, yeah.
You look at their roster and it's a horror show.
What was it, like top 5 teams to watch or something like that?
Yeah, look out for the Titans. Look out for Will Levis and the Titans. They're going to come after you. They're shipping D-Hop out as early as possible because they saw the writing on the wall so soon. But you're right. Like the Bears being a 4-12 team and they've lost 10 straight games. They were 4-2 and having to suffer through that. And your consolation prize is probably 10th the 10th overall pick, 9th overall pick.
Get a Roma Dunze type talent with that pick.
Oh man, because that was a better move than taking an offensive lineman, right? For Caleb Williams.
They're cooking with gas there. Ryan Poles set to lead the head coaching search.
Ryan Poles is Steve Keim reincarnated.
He really is. Keim made some good trades too. And then what happened? And then what happened to old
like, we got a number 1 pick, quarterback. We just got Keenan Allen. Let's get another wide receiver. We got
DJ Moore. We got Keenan Allen. What if we just get all the wideouts, guys?
Right, all the wideouts, and we're going to get a guard, and we're going to use him as our primary ball carrier around the goal line.
70 sacks. What about 70? People rip on the Cardinals' O-line. Doesn't even have half of that. 30 sacks this year.
Yeah.
We're going to have more draft talk, plus trending up, trending down, your super chats right around the corner. This offseason, I'm making it a staple, Circle K every day. My son said he was going to create a profile on YouTube just to get in the chat and say that I don't take him to Circle K as much as I say on here, but I still take him to Circle K a good amount. He's like, Dad, I hear you on your show lying. And I said, here's what I don't lie about. 79-cent Polar Pops or Frosters, becoming a member of the Inner Circle. How about that? How you like them apples, son? America's Thirst Stop. Join the Inner Circle for free. All you got to do, enter your phone number, email to be fully enrolled. It's 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, 3 cents per gallon every single day. Again, join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply. At participating locations, Bo, visit CircleK.com for more details.
You really showed that 9-year-old. Way to go. Way to
stick it to him.
Yeah, stick it to him. Who's the man of the house? Johnny is. Johnny's probably going to have to make up with maybe some tickets to a sporting event. How about a Suns game? Like we talked about the Fiesta Bowl. You want to see GCU hoops? How about you could see the Valley Suns as well? You got so many different options here. You got the Desert Hockey Classic at Moeller Arena. WWE is coming. That's the 3rd. Yeah. Any wrestling fiends out there? You can go down.
Slam.
That's right. $52. You can get in via our friends over at Game Time. You're like, all these great events. How do I get there? Game Time. That's how you get in. And use the code PHNX for $20 off your purchase with the code PHNX. Of course, terms apply. But hey, what do you got, Damon? You want to go and see some choke slams?
I just didn't know if the Costco guys were going to be there.
Oh, man.
If they are, that's the cheapest, best bang for your buck a ticket can get you.
That's the wrong wrestling association.
Darn.
It's sick that I know which one AJ is a big part of, and it's not WWE.
I would pay any money on Game Time to see the Costco family. Game Time, get tickets to the Costco family.
You're gross. Take the guesswork out and buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account. Use the code PHNX for $20 off your purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account. Redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price. Guaranteed, baby. Boom.
Who's bringing the boom on trending up, trending down, and who's bringing the doom? We might just replace this segment, boom or doom, and be big time fraud ripoffs here. Everybody be sure we got 750 people like this video. How about trending up? Marvin Harrison Jr., again, as the Slobberfest continues for literally every other rookie wide receiver but Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. quietly had his best game in about a month and a half's time against the LA Rams. I tweeted this out. Can he just play the Rams every week? McBride, not to be overshadowed, or excuse me, Harrison, not to be overshadowed by McBride. 6 catches, which was a career high in a game, 96 yards. But how about this? 16 yards per catch, looked explosive, looked really just defiant in running his routes out of his breaks, right? Everybody complaining. He looked slow coming out of his breaks. Every time I saw him get open, he was cooking somebody, Killer Witherspoon, one of their DBs. We know the Rams defense is good. It's a good defense. Marvin Harrison Jr., I say this weekend, he needs 178 yards to break 1,000. I don't care about the win. Get Marvin Harrison Jr. 1,000 receiving yards. Can we do that, please? I know that's a tall task.
Yeah.
Feed him the football. Speaking of, first of all, Bo, your assessment of MHJ.
Yeah, and JG was asked about it today, and I think he liked kind of the variety of ways that Marv was impacting the game. Not only was he, Kyler Murray was throwing him open, and he was also making plays himself. You saw kind of just the diversity as far as the routes he was running, the underneath. he turned maybe a 6-yard gain into like a 14-yard gain. 2nd and 19, he's coming up with an explosive. He's making a catch on what should have been the game-winning drive. So Marvin Harrison Jr. was everywhere. He was what you wanted when you had the idea of taking him 4th overall. These other fraudulent wide receivers that are getting all their flowers after this week, Malik Nabers just benefited from the Colts not being able to tackle anybody. He shouldn't have gone just berserk like he did, because the Colts are just a beaten team and a trash organization.
I had people DMing me. They're just like, oh man, did you see what Dove put out? The fraud Dove Kleinman on Twitter. It was like Brian Thomas Jr., Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, and Malik Nabers. They all went over 1,000 yards. Yeah. And they're just like, people are dogging Marv. You guys literally know that the difference between where Marv is at and those guys is like one game. Literally one game. And Marvin is right there. Marvin, who, by the way, and I know Nabers missed time, so I want to be fair here. Marvin, who literally didn't play against Green Bay after the first possession because he got a concussion, right? He's on a run first team. He's at an offense that literally set football back, trying to throw the football with passing touchdowns this year. Yeah. This will be the worst for Marvin Harrison Jr. It's like buying a stock. If anybody can't see that, I can't help you. Legitimately, look how difficult this is and how poorly the Cardinals are passing the football. And he still almost has 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns. I'm pretty sure he's an ascending player. Let's keep it going here.
Can I say one more thing? As far as those guys, it's like, would you say Brian Thomas Jr., Jacksonville, 4 wins. Malik Nabers, 3 wins. Brock Bowers and the Raiders, 4 wins. They're all bad teams, and they all get spammed the football, and there's really nobody else. They have to be fed the football out of necessity. Great point. But look, could the Cardinals do a better job in getting Marvin Harrison Jr. going? Yes. Absolutely. I don't think anybody will deny that, but I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, those guys are better just because they've got little gaudier statistics. Ladd McConkey, I'm glad to hear that you're finally on board with Ladd McConkey, by the way. He's a good player. But again, Marvin with Jim Harbaugh, Marvin's at about 13. Will you say you were wrong about Ladd McConkey? I won't. I'm big enough to say I wasn't. Let's keep it going here on Trending Up. Nick Rallis, ass kicker. Nick Rallis, somebody that we've lauded on this show for 6 months. The Cardinals had a bad game in Carolina. They turn around and completely shut down Matthew Stafford for most of that game. I mean, Nick Rallis, he's the coordinator of the year. He's the coach of the year on the Cardinals staff. Sans JG, did a hell of a job. You can't say enough good things about him, especially we'll talk about it here in a second. What do the Cardinals do well defensively? Really nothing. They're just so fundamentally sound. I think I saw a statistic Saturday night. They have the fewest defensive penalties in the NFL. That's coaching. Keep this man under contract indefinitely and get him some good health, some front 7 talent. I think 4th least defensive penalties this season. Unbelievable. Yeah, just a well-coached group that is really short of a couple of household names that you give Nick Rallis, I think, some talent. He's given up the 14th, the least amount of points in the league. That's unbelievable. It really is. I mean, if you would have asked us, if the Cardinals can finish in the top half of the league as far as points surrendered, you would have signed immediately up for that and thought it was a playoff season, no doubt about it. And then lastly, Michael Carter Jr., elusive, explosive, powerful, right? And I like Trey Benson, and DeMercado is a great undrafted free agent. But, man, you can't watch that guy run and think, well, he's the 4th best running back on this team. Maybe he's not the best pass protector. He can catch the football. He breaks tackles. He falls forward. And I just, frankly, right now, I think Trey Benson does a lot of what James Conner does well. But in terms of having that elusive, shifty complement to James Conner, I still think it's Michael Carter Jr. Poor Michael Carter on the bench all year, literally on the practice squad. He comes off, he's like, yeah, I'll start for you guys. Oh, okay. 70 yards against a good Rams defense. Go look up that last drive before you have to shield your eyes before the interception. He is gutting the Rams up front. He is cutting and making people miss. Keep him on the roster. Do not allow him to leave. He's a good player. Right. He had a 12-yard catch, 12-yard run on that final drive. He had 81 yards from scrimmage in the game. He had 48 yards from scrimmage in relief of an injured James Conner the previous week as well. So, in his short little time, you're looking at, 129 yards on how many touches from scrimmage? 25. That's over 5 yards per touch. That's a good player. That's what he did the previous season. It's I think he's a guy, he's a spark plug.
If you're watching with one of our phenomenal streaming partners on TV, jump on over to gophnx.com. We got almost 800 people watching live. Hit that like button here on a football Monday. Again, big thanks to everybody jumping over to gophnx.com. Pick up a free hat and or shirt as you become a diehard. Who am I not diehard for this week, Bo? Looking at trending down. One of the last few trending downs here during the regular season. Let's see it, Damon, Dawg. Quarterback clarity. We talked about it. Kyler Murray, we hope he plays well in the finale, but again, it's going to be a discussion topic. This was made even before Colin Cowherd's, trade report, faux report came out. Whether it's free agency, whether it's the draft, Kyler Murray, I'm sure himself will attest to the criticism. Like, I thought if Kyler Murray played 17 games this year, I thought we'd be looking at historic numbers, and it's underwhelming and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it really is. And it just kind of murkies up the waters as far as what the position looks like in the near future and down the road. When 10 games through this season, you would have thought, okay, we're solid at that spot, and you can just kind of add here and there. Let's move on here to takeaways. I mean, we give all the credit to I think the next two categories, even more so kind of give more credit to Nick Rollis and how he was able to hold this Rams team to just one touchdown despite not getting any takeaways, even though they had a couple opportunities at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, does Budda Baker, do Garrett Williams need to come up with those footballs? Absolutely. But for a team that their leading sack artist is a 6th-round rookie or second-year defensive tackle with 4.5 in Dante Stills, it's just not a serious team about sacking the quarterback right now. I think the takeaways will come with pressure. That's organic. But you look at, like, the Vikings, I saw a statistic. They've got a takeaway in every game, at least one. Well, they have 13 wins. Like, that's part of it, right? So I'm sure for the Kyler Murray defendants in that organization, let's get Kyler Murray the ball more often in 2025. Let's take the football away. Let's shorten field position. I mean, the Cardinals do not intercept passes. They don't have forced fumbles. Bo, you and I talked about it at the watch party. They don't have, I think they've got to be one of the only teams in the NFL. They don't have a defensive touchdown this year.
Yeah.
They are so fundamentally sound, but they do not have violent front seven players to make other quarterbacks uncomfortable.
Yeah, they're going to have to find it in free agency, and they're going to have to find it in the draft, and they're going to have an opportunity to do that. But man, it's they've been short on that far too often the last 2 seasons. But in like Matthew Stafford shows you this, and you said this before the game. Like these statuesque quarterbacks, they can, without having these sack artists, they can still ratchet up the pressure enough to make those guys look pedestrian. But man, what it could do if you could get to those guys, put them on the turf, or make them force even worse throws. Like Matthew Stafford, like I think probably the reason like he's not throwing picks is because he's throwing this ball so damn hard.
Yeah.
Like if you hit him hard enough, he'll float it, and then that becomes a more interceptable pass. The Cardinals just need to upgrade still at a couple more premium positions on the defensive side of the football, and I think you'll see this team start taking the ball away more often, and that benefits everybody.
We talked about it during the pregame show. One of the reasons I thought the Cardinals defense was going to have success is that they've had success against statuesque quarterbacks this year. Jared Goff, right? Aaron Rodgers, a bad offensive line with Caleb and the Bears, the Patriots and Drake May. Who have they struggled against? Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Jordan Love. Geno was incredibly mobile in the 2 games they lost to him. Even Bryce Young in that horror show 2 weeks ago. You just have to get way more athletic.
Well, and just look at like Michael Penix last night. Like he's not Jaden Daniels, but he can move around and he can extend plays. And the league's going to continue to move more and more to the direction of guys that can extend plays and less statuesque guys like the day of the pocket passer, like the traditional pocket passer, or almost like they're going extinct.
Yeah. I just feel like, and I see people giving love to Baron Browning in the chat. Like, I like Baron Browning. He's done good things. He's got 1 sack. I think on a good defensive line to great defensive line, Baron Browning and Zaven Collins are depth pieces. I do not think they're like marquee starters to help close out games. Like
he has 2, by the way.
He's got 2 sacks?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 sacks. Excuse me. 2 sacks in double-digit games this year. And I also think, listen, Darius Robinson is basically playing the equivalent of like September, October football right now. He doesn't look, like he did pre-injury, and that'll come over time. But and I think I've swayed you a little bit on this. They need 2 edge rushers this offseason. They need an edge rusher
on that. I believe
feel
that.
Damon hasn't he been in the camp of they just need a guy. They just need one guy.
No, I don't need any more Jags. They've got plenty of Jags.
Right.
I mean,
feel
you
like
were saying that like Hassan Reddick as a second acquisition at pass rusher would be.
They better get if they're going to get if Reddick is the solution. He's been historically bad. Hassan Reddick has.
That we just need to go steal players from the Jets this offseason. They have good players.
Nah, that's not an organization you want to steal players from.
I would say Reddick.
If you take a flyer on Hassan Reddick, you can turn me on that. But
For
if
sure.
that's
As
your
the
solution,
1B to a 1A.
huh?
Oh, him as your 1B to a 1A. You get a 1A in here.
Brother, he's not a 1B or 1A. He's not a 3.
Wow.
No. He stinks, Johnny.
He doesn't stink.
Oh, a 31-year-old pass rusher coming off a half-sack season? No.
I think this is an outlier year. And I see people in the chat saying B.J. Ojulari is going to be back. He's a rookie. If they talk up B.J. Ojulari this offseason, you've already lost me.
No, you need to invest in draft another one, and you need to go out there and get somebody with all the cap dollars you have. There's no excuse.
But Bo, like if they don't trade for a pass rusher, is Hassan Reddick not the best free agent pass rusher available?
I'd have to look at it.
I mean, people are saying Josh Sweat. I don't know if Josh Sweat's going to be available, but like I feel like Reddick is about as good as you can do in terms of like true free agents. The Cardinals screwed around and they got burned. They didn't get serious about a Jonathan Gannon or somebody last offseason. You let the Vikings go and sign a couple good pass rushers. Guess what? Vikings force a lot of turnovers.
I think I would probably take an older Khalil Mack than Hassan Reddick at this point.
Oh my, Bo, come on.
He had a half sack.
I would, for sure. Khalil Mack's good.
He is.
He's 33. You're talking to me about Hassan, who's
33 and productive is better than 31 and washed.
He is not what,
dude. If
you can't assess the fact that Hassan Reddick was a great player, and I still think can be a great player, and then he entered the Jets' dysfunction, had a contract dispute, and basically took the year off. I mean, let's just call a spade for a team that is. There's no more dysfunctional team sans the Bears in the NFL. You think he just forgot how to rush the passer? I think you're nuts. He had 17 and a half sacks for Jonathan Gannon. That was 3 years ago.
2022, yes. And now he's over the age of 30. Who tagged this today and how historically bad he's been?
I don't care. I don't care about this year. Like it's the same argument I think you can be made about like, oh, Garrett Williams isn't any good this year.
Okay, this is via big thanks to our guy Steve Keim. 2000001.
Okay.
This is via Paul Andrew Edson Jr. How is this possible? Hassan Reddick is the only edge player in the league without a full sack, minimum 175 pass rushers per next gen stats.
I don't care. Randy Moss once upon a time was terrible on the Raiders. Then what happened? It's all about infrastructure, baby.
How old was Randy Moss when he was traded from the Raiders to the Patriots?
I cannot wait until the Cardinals.
I can't believe you talked about prime Randy Moss and 31-year-old Hassan Reddick in the same.
I'm going to put such a wager when the Cardinals sign Reddick on his sack total versus
29
and I are going to have to discuss. And it's going to be so gross, and you're going to have to do something horrific on this podcast.
Hassan Reddick, let me ask you this. 9 games and half a sack.
As we prep for this, let's say Cardinals sign Hassan Reddick, right? He goes into 2025 as one of their starters at edge rusher. What is your over-under for him at sack total?
For the Cardinals?
Yeah.
6.5.
Oh, my God. Are you
what?
Shut up. Come on.
Johnny, he has half a sack in 9 games.
Damon,
Baron Browning has been more productive by a lot over Hassan Reddick.
Infrastructure, bro. Hassan Reddick and
What's the infrastructure that Baron Browning has?
To be fair to
Gannon.
To be fair to Bo's side of this argument, I mean, is playing next to like Quinnen Williams, that's not good enough. I mean, it's not as
the Jets are so poison. They're so poison and so toxic. I don't care about any of that.
Their D line is good though.
He's got this is only part of the puzzle here.
Mm-hmm.
51 pass rush grade. 51.
If they sign Hassan Reddick, and I think I've already have it sourced. Reddick wants to come back and play for Gannon. If they sign Hassan Reddick, the over-under for sacks for me will be 10.5. It's not, will he have 10 sacks?
Baron Browning has a 75 pass rush grade.
Oh, congratulations.
If it comes down to
where was that against Carolina?
He's signing Baron Browning or bringing in Hassan Reddick, who are you taking?
Shut up. Come on.
Who are you taking?
The guy who was almost defensive player.
Who was good so many years ago. He was so good in 2022. You guys just going to sit back and talk about glory days? just sit up at the bar stool, crack a couple cold ones, and talk about how good he used to be. Does that do it for you? Because I need guys who are productive now.
Look at this. Valley Bro 14. Source, trust me, bro. Yeah, I need you to trust me, bro.
It's not so much the source. It's like, just trust me, he's going to be good again.
That's my belief. I'm not like, I have no way to predict that. I'm just going off of, he was good 2 years ago. This year he went to the Jets, and the Jets are a laughing stock. Look at all these people saying Baron Brown.
He went from 17 and a half to 11 to a half sack.
I'm going to tell you,
this was his production line. It was like up here, then it came down a little bit, and it plummeted.
Let me ask you this. Who's getting more money in free agency, Baron Browning or Hassan Reddick?
I bet it's about the same.
No,
very similar.
What's Spot Track say? This is not good podcasting. Spot Track, Hassan Reddick.
He doesn't have a market value. I don't see it.
He does. He absolutely will.
I see Khalil Max is 7.3 average annual salary.
Bring that.
Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, there's nothing.
How many pass rushers does a team carry typically from
like 6
into the year?
Yeah.
So you got to assume Xavier Thomas will be one of those 6, right?
Zaven's under contract.
Zaven's one of those 6. And then you got 4 spots there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd resign Baron Browning.
Well, yeah, if they want to sign him, I'm not going to
draft a guy.
Resign Browning, draft a guy, maybe trade for a guy, and then a Reddick or another veteran like that. I'm with it.
That's a lot.
Oh, I guess they have Ojulari too.
Ojulari, Thomas, Zaven Collins are under contract.
And then 3 more.
Get rid of Gardeck. Love you, man. Goodbye. Lucetta gone. Dumakaji gone. I mean, do we not call that in August? Those guys have been on the roster all year. They just give you nothing at that position. Nothing.
You want Azeez Ojulari? Remember, he's going to be a free agent.
He's got a bad knee. Cardinals second to last team rushing the passer, according to PFF, behind Carolina. They're basically the worst because the Panthers beat the Cardinals. So I'm calling the Cardinals the worst. But I don't want to hear B.J. Ojulari's name. Here's where I want to hear B.J. Ojulari's name. If he's having a great training camp. Oh, what a pleasant surprise. But you can't sell me on, this is the answer. No, he's been hurt 2 years in a row. This is the NFL, man. I don't want to be in a position where we're like, hey, this guy's going to be good because he was drafted in the second round. Like, the Cardinals were bound to miss on some guys. They had so many picks. I can't believe anti-Reddick rhetoric. Can't believe it. I don't like it.
I can't believe you're just sitting there, just planting your flag right there for Hassan Reddick.
Here's what I'm saying. Source, trust me, bro. Let's get to some of these super chats here. We got 822 people watching live. Hit that like button for Bo, Damon, and Johnny here on a Football Loser Monday. Let's try this. Gage kicking us off. $2. This is addressed to you, my friend. Bo, reaction if Kyler got traded after next week.
If Kyler got traded next week, I would be curious to hear what their plan is. What the approach is going to be.
I think the question basically is like after the finale.
Yeah.
Probably before free agency. If he got traded, what would be your reaction?
I think there would be a little bit of there would be some traumatic fallout there. I mean, this is somebody that you're rooting for his entire career. Yeah. And for it to end in divorce, I think I think there would be a little bit of a mourning period.
Joey, kind of following up on that, $4.99. If this team trades K1, they deserve the QB purgatory they'll inevitably fall into, Bo.
That's the ultimate fear right there. You don't want to, continue to build this team and then still not have a solution at quarterback. It's just, you don't want to just kind of shift around. I mean, we've seen look at where the Colts have gone. Like they had a decent roster in place for a couple of years. They just never got the quarterback position right. And now they're a flailing organization.
And the Cardinals roster is not strong enough right now to carry a bad quarterback and win games. It's not like when Arians was winning 8 games with Drew Stanton. Monty Ossenford's burner, $4.99. Trading K1, Bo, will lose the locker room and make the Cards inevitable, unviable. Excuse me.
Yeah,
and we'll get the staff fired.
I mean, it's a type of a move that would be not just polarizing, but I think the majority of the locker room would be disappointed to see that happen. I agree with that.
I think the only way you kind of do it is you get another quarterback that can ingratiate themselves. And It's like, oh yeah, well, we still have X player, right? To go
this isn't Kirk Cousins and letting him leave via free agency. If you trade it, it's an organization kicking him out. And
we saw how much it was kind of hot and cold with the Vikings when they didn't have Cousins before the draft. It was like they were vulnerable. They thought they needed 2 first rounders.
Yeah.
YouTube user, our guy Shaft, with back-to-back super chats. So generous with his time. Great to see him at back-to-back watch parties. My guy, big friend, diehard part of the show. Kyler is going to be our quarterback in 2025, Bo. There's no better option, so let's move on. Monty has built this team the right way. Now with his 3rd draft and some edge help and other free agent signings, this team rocks in 2025. Well, we hope.
Yep. We need to see it. I mean, as far as how they're finishing here in 2024, I can get with the crowd and why they'd be skeptical is like, okay, well, what's going to be the difference, especially offensively? Let's Shaft continues here, $20. We have the offensive weapons to win. Monty will add key pieces in the offseason and another good draft, O-line, D-line, invest in the trenches. I believe a few more good players with the team wins the division and wins the playoff game or more in 2025.
I'm hopeful, but again, like you're at the point, the people who have bailed on Kyler Murray, you're not winning those people back in the offseason, early next year. I mean, you got to keep your head down and work. And John, nobody does that better than JG. So thank you, Shaft. We appreciate your support. Yanks $9.99. Organizationally, have the Cardinals put Kyler in the best position to win in the last 6 years? Honest question. Wonder if people think that matters, or is it just his abilities are limited late in the season? I think those are all fair questions.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if we have time to go through all 6 seasons and, where the downfalls were, but like I alluded to Ryan Poles being, this generation's Steve Keim or this era's Steve Keim, because Steve Keim set up Kyler Murray with, I think, the playmakers to get it done. Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins, always had a decent run game, but like never invested in the offensive line, never could figure out the offensive line, was taking and kicking the tires on, veteran free agents that were never healthy enough or never, productive enough to help out Kyler Murray like the entire way. And you're seeing a little bit of that, but also like, look at Washington's offensive line last night. They were terrible, but Jaden Daniels found a way, so there's got to be the ability to overcome some of that, especially at the end of the season. Like Kyler Murray has to overcome these end of the season struggles, or it's inevitable that it's going to end in divorce. But can he hold that off with the opportunity in 2025 and then performing in that season?
Turtle Trolls $4.99. We're so cursed. We can't catch any easy INTs, but the Rams catch theirs like the
crazy
wide receivers.
Every time I watch that play, you watch it and, Trey McBride takes full blame for it and said he's got to get out of his break quicker and, hit him right in the face. But then you see Witherspoon and he just makes an incredible play. One that is like, if you're off just the slightest bit, you don't make that catch and it's 2nd and goal from the 5 and the Cardinals are still in primo position to win that football game.
Kyler Plummer, $5. Everything is Kyler's fault. Blah, blah, blah. Kyler's probably flying drones around AZ instead of studying, according to the haters. I think this is...
Yeah. That was one of the things, like when I hear the conversation between Middlecoff and Cowherd, and, Cowherd, we know whose primary source is, and it's Steve Keim, saying about the work ethic and how that catches up to him. I don't see that. Kyler Murray's putting in as much work, if not more, than most quarterbacks in this league. As far as the leadership qualities, I think you've seen him. Like from the outsider's perspective on that, I think is still wrong. Like I think he's putting in the work necessary to be successful. He's making bad decisions on the field.
I think this is just the Kyler discourse, and it probably will get worse this offseason. Almost has become political, where it's like you're either pro-Kyler or you're anti-Kyler, and everybody has their rhetoric and their narrative, and they're so extreme. Most people, I want to believe, are in the middle, where it's like, I root for this player. He's the quarterback of my team. I've seen him make great plays, but he has not played well enough at the end of the year, and I don't know what to do. And I want to embrace him, but I can't because sometimes the optics are bad. Like I feel like most people fall into that category. Let's not blame people when they criticize a player, and let's not take shots at somebody's personal life or their appearance or how their physical stature. This show, I feel like we do a pretty good job about just making it about football. And Kyler Murray's football at the end of this year has not been good enough. So guess what? And now supposedly the national media, everybody else is having a conversation about like, what's the future like with K1 and the Cardinals? And if Kyler Murray was playing better, guess what? Those conversations wouldn't be happening. Let's keep it going here. Kyler Plummer, P-Brain's offense, no disrespect, was garbage in Cleveland. What we expect. So he's alluding to Drew Petzing. I'm not here. Bo's not here to say like we would keep Drew Petzing. We wouldn't keep Drew Petzing. Jonathan Gannon wants to keep Drew Petzing. And you have to trust that Jonathan Gannon, knowing that next year you got to win more games. You got to make the playoffs. You got to do this, this, and this. He feels like for his team and his quarterback right now, it is better to have continuity, not necessarily status quo, but building on what they've already built instead of Eberflus-esque Shane Waldron pivoting off of this coordinator, firing this person. He believes in Drew, and they believe that they can add to this. If you want to say that's the wrong decision, I have no issue with that, Bo.
Yeah, Gage, $2. It would be a miracle if we passed for 178 yards. Crying, laughing. Is he talking about Marv? Is that what it needs to get to? Okay.
Yeah. That's fine. If they only pass for that much, as long as Marv gets his 1,000 yards, I don't care about that. Anything else, Gage?
Dana R, $2. Thank you, Dana. Early season. I said it. No speed at the edge.
No real no high-end talent. We saw it in training camp. Even with B.J. Ojulari, it didn't exist. The most talented defensive lineman they had was Darius.
Yeah. But 31-year-old Hassan Reddick's coming in with blazing speed off the edge. Kyler Plummer, $2. Bo is on at OG's right now.
I think that is maybe with regard to maybe your Reddick take, hopefully.
Oh, probably not. That's actually pretty logical. What is this? BT or what is it? B-Type 711. Wish the Cards were a 2 or 3 win team, but the fact they they do well early and then they choke at the end of the year makes them check out the first 8 weeks of next year. Makes you check out next. I don't know if I agree with that. I think that there's going to be a lot of interest as far as how this team's going to start and how they're going to kind of rebound from this horrific end to this season.
We have a bias. Like I like Jonathan. I don't want Jonathan Gannon to have 2 or 3 wins. I think he's a good coach. Like Cliff Kingsbury, you could tell some of that was smoke and mirrors as a head coach. And they tried to fortify the roster. So JJ Watt was basically a player coach. Like I think Jonathan Gannon can get this team to where they want to go. Right. And that's why like Saturday night was painful. That's why I'm rooting for them to win against the San Francisco 49ers Sunday, where it's like 3-3 after going 0-4 in the division last year. There's something to that. To build a culture, it gets ugly at times. I think when you have perennial losing with young players, it's hard to kick that. And you're seeing a lot of teams in the NFL, they just can't overcome it.
Dana R, again, $2. Where was the second half pass scheme all year?
Where was the passing game in general from the 2 Rams games all year?
That's, Rams bad pass defense, but at the same time, I think that the shots, they emphasized it a little bit, especially in the second half, especially Kyler and Marv, even the ones where people want to point out, where he missed them. Ethan Dumpit, 199. If K1 is gone next week, I'll get Bo's face tatted. All right. We'll hold
that.
you to it. I hope you don't have to get that tat, but we will hold you to it.
I'm into that. Shaft, $10 again. Happy New Year to all the diehards. Johnny, Bo, Damon, you guys are the best. We appreciate you, Shaft. Keep your heads up. Continue to build around him, and this team will soar next season. Go Cardinals. Cheers to all. I think we're all Shaft in this moment. It's like we hope for the best. We want this team to do well. And here's what I know definitively. This offseason is going to be a hell of a time, and we're going to cover it top to bottom. They're going to have a top 15 choice now in the draft. They're going to spend money in free agency. Hell, they could make some big-time trades. They could finally kind of etch out the last of the kind guys that aren't going to be sticking around. They already signed James Conner and Budda Baker both, so you would figure they've taken care of their prelims. Their priorities now are to get better elsewhere. I mean, like, the Cardinals are going to be a better team starting next fall than they have been this year. Mm-hmm. What's the ceiling with K1? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, less holes to fill, right? And when they do fill them with cap dollars and draft picks, you're going to say, well, this team's a better team today than it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. Like, coming out of this, like, it's like coming out of hibernation. It's like the sun's going to be shining, and you're going to start to see, hopefully better days ahead for this organization. But look, it's going to come down to, like, you can start to add players on this roster, but you're going to have to execute in crunch time. There's going to be close games again next year. And you got to be on the winning side of that. You got to figure out what went wrong here down this stretch, why you couldn't close, why you couldn't finish.
Z Warlock, friend of the program, $5. But what are the odds the Cardinals draft another wide receiver? It's not a good receiver class, but I think, day three, it's always an option.
Yeah. I think they want more speed. They could certainly kind of do that.
Wouldn't it be great? I know he was a second round pick, but just like a poor man's Christian Kirk or somebody like that, where help you vertically. And Marv is, and we didn't even get to this today, Marv is the number one wide receiver in the NFL in crossing routes. It's like, okay, well, that's what he does well. There it is, 30-13. Marv leads the NFL, Marvin Harrison Jr., in receiving yards and TDs off crossing routes, right? You know who did that once upon a time? A CeeDee Lamb. Right. So they're finding what he does well. There's some familiarity there. He's in good company. Jamison Williams, DJ Moore, Ladd McConkey, Terry McLaurin's in there. So I think when they have clearly defined roles, that's when this team is at its best.
Yeah, I think Marv is finding his spot. He's finding his role. He's starting to see, come next year, there's not going to be anything he hasn't seen at that point.
Yeah.
Pretty much threw the kitchen sink at him as far as coverages go. And they paid Marv a whole lot of respect, for not being, for just being a rookie. Like, he saw game one against the Bills. There was a lot of doubles that he faced. He saw a lot of two-man. So we'll see. I mean, look, I think that if anything from this previous weekend, like, that was a positive. See Marvin Harrison get going, and to kind of see numbers like this kind of justify it and even point to a better rookie season than people, wanted to believe. It's all good for the Arizona Cardinals and Marvin Harrison Jr. and that taking off come next year.
Everybody be sure to drop a like on this video. We appreciate you all. While this is our last game weekend, our coverage isn't going anywhere as we prep for Senior Bowl, Super Bowl week, Combine, and more. And of course, coup de grace of the offseason, the NFL draft. Plus, Mina Kimes, her last in-season appearance tomorrow. Be sure to set your reminder, 4:30 start time with Mina and company. We'll ask her, what's wrong with K1, and can they remedy it en route for next year? Bo, it should be a good conversation with our friend from ESPN.
Follow that sweet boy's advice right there. Leave a like here on this video. It does wonders for us. Go check out some of the extra content we have from the Cardinals game against the Rams. We've got shorts up there. We got Johnny breaking down the doink. And we got so much more coming your way tomorrow with Mina Kimes. Last show of a banner year for this humble little podcast. Let's check out the numbers, Johnny. We had over 4 million views and downloads this season.
Is that good?
Year. Yeah, seems pretty good.
And that's because of all of you.
Everybody, every single person that took a second to watch this show. Extremely thankful and grateful for you. Johnny's getting emotional over there. Yeah,
I am.
Thank you.
I'm getting teary-eyed right now. I don't
That's
know
what
if I'm
means the
crying
most to
about
you,
the
the
Cardinals
numbers.
record or all of your commitment. Somebody just tagged me in some awful Josh Norris tweet that Kyler Murray's just been awful post by, but I'm not crying about that. Trust me.
Well, look, we've seen all the damning numbers, and we understand it, and that's why the conversations like today happen, and that's what forces the hands of some of the other content creators on a bigger stage, like Colin Cowherd, and starts talking about trading. But when you examine it a little closer, doesn't make the most sense. I liked your house analogy. You can sell your house for a very nice price right now, but are you going to get into one that you and your family are going to love and it's going to make sense for you? It's the quarterback market.
Be sure to like this video, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. And again, check out our guy, Damon, Dawg. You got a post-game show coming up tonight, U of A, my guy?
Yeah, we got the Cats taking on TCU rematch of the Sweet 16 from, I believe, 2 seasons ago, where U of A won that game, come from behind. So TCU fans, they don't love us too much, but it'll be a good game. Tune in.
U of A basketball, a national brand, and your new premier Wildcat podcast is with our guy, Damon, Dawg and company on PHNX Wildcats here. So give them a follow on Twitter. And we're back on a Tuesday. Mina Kimes for Bo Brack, Damon, Dawg. I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.